Mazz, the floor is yours. Your thoughts on that report there from Tommy Curran on Monday?
Okay, so again, this got a lot of attention on social media. When I say a lot of attention, I'm not telling you it was ridiculous, but the idea that the decision has been made. And what it did for me anyway, it immediately prompted the conversation we had back in November, right as the Patriots were preparing. I think it was even before. What was the game before Germany, Murray? Whatever it was before that game.
Washington?
Yeah, right. Ben Volen wrote in the Boston Globe, based on my conversations, I don't think it's 100% that Belichick finishes out the season. These next two games before the bye are huge, particularly the Germany game, which is practically the team's Super Bowl for the Crafts. If Belichick loses at home to the Commanders and then to the Colts, and then comes home from Germany with a 2-8 record, I think there's a chance the Crafts could make the move in the bye week and install Gerard Mayo. Okay, that's what he wrote then. Now, they did not fire Belichick. But in retrospect, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Volen was the first one to suggest that the Germany game was kind of a breaking point.
Yep.
And I think what given what Tom is now reporting, I think frankly that Volen was tugging at the right string. Now, they didn't fire him, so how far it was going to unravel may have been wrong, but the story that was the breaking point for the Crafts now seems to be validated by Tom Curran. And I think that when you add all that up, that's two different sources now. I think we're starting to get a clearer picture as to when the thing really reached its critical point, its critical mass, and it was that Germany game. And to me, there's something to it.
So does it tell you anything? Like, how does that contribute to the story? The fact that it was Germany, or that was the breaking point, or what does that say to you?
Well, so I think I would say at this stage it is and this jives with my way of thinking. So that's probably why I feel that way. But nonetheless, I think Bill is gone. I don't think there's really any gray area there. I don't think there's much of a chance that it's going to change. And it also adds to the picture that they weren't necessarily headed completely down that road until that stage of the season. So it took 2-8 and a disaster in Germany over 2 weeks for Kraft to finally say, okay, that's it. We're not going to go beyond this year. That's it. It's over. So, to me, they gave Bill a lot of rope there.
Yeah, I don't know if it was one game necessarily. And look, I think it's clear that there was some level of importance, high level of importance put on that game in Germany for clients, whatever. But they probably were looking at the season through chunks. I don't think it was just that one game. It's when you got through that stretch of Washington, the game in Germany against the Colts, whoever the hell they lost to after that, the Giants game. Like this chunk they looked at, and I think they said, all right, we've made our decision. We're done here.
And do you think that is irreversible, that this is what it is? It's done. The die was cast at that point, and now we're done no matter what happens.
I mean, I think so, yes. And I have a hard time believing that anything that can happen here in the final few weeks is going to change anything when the Patriots are in the predicament they're in. So, look, let's say, because, again, the games now don't mean anything. They're out. They're mathematically eliminated. And the product has been really bad. So could there be some frosting put on it, some lipstick on the pig down the stretch? Sure, yeah, it could look better at the end. Bill's good at that. He did it with Mac Jones in his rookie year by dressing up a couple of blowouts and made the year look a little bit better than it was. And I'm not saying that Jones sucked as a rookie. But I think if you have a brain, you look at them and you say, this season already, colossal failure, that cannot change.
Much like when there was smoke, and where there's smoke, there's fire with Brady leaving and people, also pushing back on that. Like, it's not going to happen. At that time, I was like, all right, I'll believe it when I see it. It happened. I'm the same way with this Belichick thing. Like, I could still see Robert in ownership overall getting cold feet at the end of the day, especially if they do turn it around here a little bit and look at this last chunk and say, okay, we'll talk to him and see if he doesn't want to have the GM duties anymore, if he still wants to hang as coach. We can talk ourselves into that. So I'll believe it when I see it if he's going to be gone.
Okay, so, yeah, I think he's done too. And I think the die was cast. I think the Germany game might have been the line of demarcation. It might have just been when Tommy Curran talked to the right people. But I do believe he's talking to the right people. And I've sort of been parroting his report since then because I do believe he's tapped. I do believe he talks to the right people. I do think Bill's done, whether he knows it or not, or they've had the conversation or not. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if no conversations have been had, because it's not exactly like Bill Belichick is an open book or is, Mr. Communication. It's entirely possible they haven't had the conversation. I know Bill was asked about that today, and we'll get to that sound with you here coming up. It's interesting in ESPN, it's just the groundswell and the sort of linking that I do, Mazz, is that now Dan Graziano on ESPN has a takeout piece on ESPN.com, maybe the plus site, the paywall site, where he says whether it's team owner Robert Kraft's decision to move on, Belichick's decision to step away, or a mutual decision between the two parties, there is a growing belief around the NFL that someone besides Belichick will be coaching the team in 2024. And this comes out now, I don't know if it was posted last night maybe. Who all just got home from Foxborough?
Last night?
Yeah. I don't know when they got home, but wasn't the ESPN crew just out there for game day and all the ESPN people?
Right, because Army Navy, right.
Yeah. So all the ESPN, I'm telling you, I think that the ESPN people think they know what's happening. And whether they think it's already done or not, they know. They know what's happening or about to happen. Going back to Dan Orlovsky a month ago, and now, McAfee parroting it, and now they all come back from Foxborough, and here comes Dan Graziano.
Yeah, this posted at 6:55 this morning, this piece.
So they all just got home from Foxborough. All of a sudden, ESPN, there's a growing belief around the NFL that someone besides Belichick will be coaching the team in 2024. He goes on to say, the defense's performance, the Patriots' defense's performance, could end up strengthening the case of linebackers coach and de facto defensive coordinator Gerard Mayo as the presumed successor to Belichick. Sources close to the Patriots believe Kraft's plan entering this season was for Belichick to coach 2 more seasons and have Mayo take over in 2025. Belichick entered the season needing 18 wins to catch Shula for the most career victories. Entering Week 15, though, Belichick remains at 15 wins behind Shula, and the Patriots' roster issues make it difficult to imagine him getting there anytime soon. The extent to which this season has gone off the rails, sources say, has Kraft rethinking everything. Multiple sources in and around the building say Mayo taking over next year is the most likely outcome, though others are no longer certain that's the way Kraft will go. Mayo would have to sell Kraft on who will be in charge of the offense, the quarterback's development, and personnel. That could all happen and work out in Mayo's favor, but it doesn't sound like it's a 100% sure thing. So Robert's vacillating on Gerard Mayo as the next guy. That would surprise me. I ultimately think, is he vacillating? Is he considering things? He should be considering everything, obviously. But I don't think he's going to change his mind on that. I think Mayo's the guy, and I think Bill O'Brien's the guy next to him, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think that die has been cast for a while. And I don't think there's anything that's going to change it. But, boy, wouldn't it just be like Bill? He did it with Cam Newton. He did it last year, and I know their record post-Thanksgiving has been bad. But it feels like, weren't they finished 7-9 with Newton. Weren't they 5-9 going into the last 2 weeks?
It sounds right, yes.
I think they might have been 5-9 going into those last 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. Certainly they won the season finale against the Jets at home. That I remember. And it's like you just paper it up a little bit to get you to closer to 500. Wouldn't that be totally Bill if he does that? But, short of that, a real run, winning 3 of these next 4, and it looks good. Does that save his job in your opinion, you two?
No.
No, I hope not.
No, it just, again, I come back to the same thing. Once you're eliminated, the games become like the Jets game at the end of the year. Let's just focus on that one because the other teams that they're playing have something at stake here over the next few weeks. Kansas City still got something to play for. Denver, Buffalo, they've all got something to play for. So those games I would give a little more credence to. But the Jets game is a 0.0 for both teams. 0.0 in all probability. I suppose there's still
the
an
Jets
outside.
Mathematically still in it. As
Okay, so I was going to say, but in all likelihood, that's going to be a 0.
Sure.
Right? So if the Patriots win that game, what does it mean? It means nothing. So, to me, all the meaningful games for the Patriots have been played. The die is cast. Like the rest of the way for them is just stat padding, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah, see, I would. If you were asking me, I'd say no, it shouldn't. But I still think they might get cold feet because I'll say this, like, and you shouldn't be surprised by this, Mike. There is blowback online about this, like this report's not real, fake sources, and of course, so there's you have a semblance of the fan base that still supports Bill, but. Just talking to Odette of DN Van Lines and Catches Law last week, like they have financial support that also still is on Bill's side, so like they might hear from sponsors that say like, what are you doing here? I think they still might get cold feet.
It's a good point. And I Catches Law is a pretty big sponsor, DN Van Lines. It does work with the Patriots players and whatnot. I don't know if they're an official sponsor of the Patriots or an official sponsor of us. But Oded's a big-time player, let's just say it. If you have big-time players in town who support Belichick, does that permeate to the organization? And that is something that's the reason I think they would get cold feet.
Yeah, people of that level have Robert's ear or Jonathan's ear, and they could say to them, what the hell are you doing here?
Well, if they lose Belichick, they lose the brand. It's we all know it's officially over from the Brady years and the dynasty years. But optically, Belichick standing on the sideline still at least gives you the optic. When he's gone, it's all gone. And do they lose brand? Do they lose branding from that? I'm sure the Steelers, Noel hung on for 10 years. But as long as he was on the sideline, well, there's Chuck Noel. Those are the Steelers. That's the steel curtain. It still had that thing.
Yeah.
Even though they weren't. You know what I mean? And so, like that's what would save Bill's job.
Yeah, we're all done here, but there's still brand equity in Bill Belichick, the name.
But I don't think it's happening. I think it's done. And I think we're all playing out the string. Yes, man.
See, I think it's the opposite. And when I say it's the opposite, I'm not discounting what Oded said. And I think the brand is taking a hit. I think that so now people are looking at it going, I think Belichick is hurting the brand. Because at the end of the day, what matters to the brand more? Belichick or the losses? And I think it's the losses. So again, and not to keep hitting you over the head with this, I think I told you this before. They're trying to sell advertising on that lighthouse down there. They're trying to sell it on the side of the Schmenzer. They want to put a big sign on the side of the Schmenzer that you can see when you drive down Route 1, and they want to sell that for big money, and they haven't been able to sell it yet. So is keeping Bill going to allow them to sell that, or does getting a good team and reigniting the passion in the Patriots and the future of the Patriots allow them to sell it? And I think it's the second thing.